Hello, friend, and welcome to the Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're floating into the secret lives of raindrops, those gentle, glimmering travelers from sky to earth. Each one begins high above, shaped by clouds and carried by wind, before drifting down in a quiet ballet of water and light. Maybe your day has been long, or your thoughts have felt a little heavy, like a sky full of clouds. Here, in this soft corner of the night, you're invited to let go. This is your place to rest, to wonder, and to simply be. How's the sky looking where you are tonight? Can you hear the rain outside? Or just imagine it, tapping gently on a window, or falling softly through the trees? If you enjoy these calming meteorology journeys, feel free to like or subscribe, only if it feels light and restful. There's never any rush here. For now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your breath slow, let your shoulders soften, and let your thoughts drift, like mist, like water vapor rising, like a raindrop waiting to fall. We're about to follow their path, from the quiet heart of a cloud to the earth below. Let's begin. We begin where all raindrops are born, high above, in the soft chambers of the sky, within clouds that stretch and billow like great floating quilts. Something gentle is always beginning. Water vapor, invisible and weightless, rises upward from the land below. It lifts from oceans and lakes, from fields and forests, from every leaf and stream and stone. Drawn by warmth and carried by wind, this moisture climbs quietly into cooler air. As it rises, the air around it begins to chill. The higher it goes, the colder it becomes. And in this meeting of warmth and cool, of motion and stillness, a change begins to happen. The vapor, once light and free, begins to gather. Not all at once, but in soft accumulation. It seeks out something to hold on to, a tiny speck, perhaps something nearly invisible. And around that seed, moisture begins to cling. At first, these droplets are unimaginably small, so light, so delicate, they don't even fall. They drift, suspended in the cloud like stars in a nebula. But even in their stillness, they are growing. Clouds may appear simple from below, a sheet of grey or white stretching across the sky, but inside they are teeming with motion. Turbulence swirls through them in slow, rolling currents. Some droplets bump into one another and combine. Others remain solitary, floating in cool silence. All of them are part of something larger, something slow and beautiful. As more vapor condenses, the droplets become heavy enough to dance. They jostle, tumble, and sometimes merge. But even still, they do not fall, not yet. They are held in suspension by the updrafts within the cloud, cradled by gentle currents of rising air. It is a quiet waiting, a slow becoming. Every cloud is a nursery for rain, a place where droplets, small and tentative, prepare for a journey downward. And not all will complete that journey. Some may evaporate before they fall. Others may freeze and become ice crystals instead. But tonight, we focus on the ones who continue on, the ones who will become raindrops. Imagine them now, billions of tiny droplets, born in the cool breath of the sky, each one a shimmer of potential. They hold within them the future of streams, of puddles, of rivers and lakes. They carry in their gentle forms the memory of the sea and the promise of return. This is where the story of rain begins, not with the splash, but with the silence. Not in motion, but in stillness. A soft birth, hidden within clouds that drift across the evening sky. So, as you rest, picture the slow ballet happening above you. Within every cloud, the first quiet steps of a raindrop's life are unfolding. There is no hurry here, no rush to fall, only the patient gathering of water, the slow shaping of something small into something whole. And when the time is right, the fall will begin. But for now, we stay. Here, in the cradles of condensation, where raindrops are born, weightless, quiet, and full of possibility. Raindrops, as soft and simple as they may seem, all begin with something almost impossibly small. Not water itself, but a particle, a speck, a seed. This seed isn't visible to us. It might be a grain of dust swept up from the desert, or a tiny bit of ash lifted from a fire. It could be a fleck of sea salt carried into the air by ocean waves, or even a bit of pollen released by a tree in bloom. These microscopic particles drift high into the sky, often unnoticed. But to water vapor, they are essential. Without them, clouds would remain vaporous and dry, floating but never falling. These particles are known as cloud condensation nuclei. It's a scientific name for something beautifully simple, the tiny surfaces upon which water gathers. Vapor alone cannot become a raindrop. It needs something to cling to embrace, to wrap itself around. And so, each raindrop begins with a meeting. Vapor finds a nucleus, and the transformation begins. It starts slowly. A single molecule of water attaches itself to the seed. Then another, and another. The process is quiet, invisible, and yet it shapes the world. This act of condensation, of vapor becoming liquid, is the first breath of rain. Inside the cloud, millions of these pairings occur. Each particle gathers moisture. Each droplet begins to grow. As more water accumulates, the droplet becomes heavier, more substantial, and eventually it may become large enough to fall, though not yet. For now, it is part of the living body of the cloud, floating, suspended, becoming. There is something poetic in this process, that even the smallest drop of rain depends on something else to begin, that even the sky, in all its vastness, requires a speck of dust to bring forth water. It reminds us that creation often starts with connection, that nothing forms in isolation. As we float gently through this chapter, imagine the air around you filled with unseen seeds, each one waiting patiently, each one a tiny invitation for water to form. The sky is full of these invitations, drifting slowly like dreams on the wind. And somewhere above you, in a quiet cloud, moisture is accepting that invitation. A droplet is forming, soft, small, and new. It will grow, it will drift, and perhaps it will fall. But tonight, we rest inside this beginning, the invisible seed of rain, the moment before the droplet takes shape, the stillness before the fall. So let your breath soften, and imagine yourself drifting among those tiny seeds in the sky, suspended in a cloud, held in place by calm air and possibility. You are weightless, you are forming, and the rain is just beginning. When we gaze up at clouds, they often appear soft, light, like airy dreams drifting through the sky. It's easy to imagine them as weightless things, cottony and light as thought. But the truth, softly surprising, is that clouds are heavy, heavier than they seem. A single, average-sized cumulus cloud can contain millions of pounds of water. It holds this weight not with strength, but with balance. Let's settle gently into that idea. Each cloud is a floating collection of tiny droplets and invisible vapor gathered high above. These droplets are small, so small they don't fall right away. Instead, they remain suspended, cradled by gentle updrafts. Warm air rises from below, lifting the cooler, moister air above. This rising motion helps keep the cloud aloft, like an invisible hand holding it in place. And so, despite all that weight, the cloud floats. It is not defying gravity, it is dancing with it. The balance is delicate, a constant conversation between gravity pulling down and warm air lifting up. As long as the upward motion is strong enough, the cloud holds its shape, and inside it, droplets continue to form, to merge, and to grow. Every moment, a choice is being made, though silently. Each droplet remains in place until something shifts. Maybe the air cools, maybe the updraft weakens, or perhaps the droplet simply becomes too heavy to stay aloft. And when that moment arrives, the fall begins, but not with a rush, not with a storm, just a single drop, breaking free, then another and another. One by one, the weight of the cloud returns to earth. Not all at once, not as a flood, but gently, gracefully, as rain. The thought that something so heavy can feel so soft is comforting. It reminds us that weight can be held with gentleness, that burden doesn't always mean force, that even the heaviest cloud can float. As you rest beneath the sky, you're lying under quiet wonders. Above you, clouds carry entire rivers in silence, oceans held in mist, and when the time is right, they share that weight, drop by drop. So, if you've carried something heavy today, let it be okay. Let it rest in balance. Like a cloud, you don't need to let it all fall at once. Maybe just a little, just one drop, just enough to begin. High above, the clouds continue their quiet balancing act, and when they're ready, they'll let go, slowly, softly, just as you are now. When we picture a raindrop, most of us imagine the same shape, a smooth teardrop, pointed at the top and rounded at the bottom, like the gentle drip of a faucet. It's a symbol we've seen in illustrations, in icons, and in memories. But real raindrops, as they fall from the sky, don't quite look like that. Let's float into the quiet truth of their shape. At the moment of their formation, raindrops begin nearly as perfect spheres. Held within the cloud, cushioned by air, their shape is determined by the gentle tension of water molecules, holding themselves together. Surface tension pulls inward equally from all sides, creating a tiny round bead. In that suspended state, a droplet is a soft, weightless orb, balanced, whole, and serene. But once the droplet begins to fall, it meets the air below. As it falls, faster, the air resists. It pushes upward against the drop space, flattening it slightly. The faster it falls, the more that shape begins to shift. No longer round, and not quite a teardrop. Large raindrops take on a shape more like a soft hamburger bun, flattened on the bottom, rounded on top, and slightly bulging outward in the middle. It's a gentle distortion, created by movement through the air. Smaller droplets, still falling slowly, remain closer to spheres. They tumble lightly, barely changed. But larger ones, those formed from merged droplets, begin to show this squashed shape more clearly. And if they grow too large, they may split apart into smaller drops before ever reaching the ground. Even the fall has its limits. This quiet reality doesn't make the teardrop image wrong. It just reminds us how much beauty there is in the details. A raindrop, shaped not by art but by physics, still moves with grace, still dances as it descends. Its form isn't static, it's responsive. It listens to the sky, it responds to the air, and in doing so, it finds its own kind of elegance. So the next time you imagine rain, picture a sky full of soft, shifting shapes. Not one identical to the next, some small and round, others broader and flattened, all of them shaped by their own moment in motion. Tonight, we rest with that thought, that the real shape of a raindrop is not a myth to correct, but a story to soften into, a reminder that not everything is as it seems, and that truth can be even more beautiful than imagination. Let your breath follow their fall now, slow, soft, rounded like droplets in descent. And know that even the smallest fall is shaped with care. There's a quiet limit to how large a raindrop can become. And that limit, like so many things in the sky, is not harsh or abrupt. It is gentle. It is shaped by balance. A raindrop must be just the right size to remain whole on its way down. Too small, and it may evaporate before ever reaching the earth. Too large, and it begins to tear itself apart. Let's drift into that balance. Raindrops form when water vapor condenses around a tiny particle, dust, salt, or pollen, and then grows. Slowly, more water molecules gather, merging with nearby droplets in the cool, quiet shelter of a cloud. Some droplets stay small, light enough to remain suspended, but others continue to combine, growing heavier, rounder, fuller. Under just the right conditions, enough moisture, steady updrafts, and calm temperature layers, some droplets can grow to impressive sizes. The largest raindrops ever observed are nearly as wide as a quarter, around 8 millimeters across. That may not sound very big, but for a drop of water moving through air, it's enormous. It's a quiet feat of atmospheric coordination. Yet, there's a point where even the sky says, enough. As a drop grows, it falls faster. Air pushes upward against it more strongly. The drop begins to flatten from the bottom, its rounded shape stretched outward by motion. Eventually, the tension that once held it together can no longer support its expanding size. The drop begins to wobble, to distort, and then, softly, it splits. Not in violence, but in surrender. It divides into smaller daughter droplets, each one continuing the fall in gentler form. This self-regulating behavior is the atmosphere's quiet rhythm, a built-in check and balance. The sky decides how much rain is too much. It keeps its drops within certain bounds, shaping their journey before they ever touch the ground. And below, we rarely notice. The difference between a 2 millimeter and a 6 millimeter drop is invisible to most of us. We hear the rain tap on the window. We see the ripples in puddles. But up above, the sky is managing its orchestra, one drop at a time. Smaller drops may evaporate mid-air, especially in dry or warm conditions. This, too, is part of the balance. It's called virga, rain that falls, but never reaches the ground. The drops vanish into vapor once more, returning to the sky in silence. A reminder that not all journeys complete in the way we expect. Some are only meant to begin. So how big can a raindrop get? Big enough to carry weight, but never so big that it forgets how to let go. It's comforting to think that even the rain knows its limits, that nature honors a soft boundary, not by force, but by design. There is no need for excess, no urge to overwhelm, just the perfect size for a gentle descent. Tonight, as you breathe in and out, imagine yourself as a raindrop at peace with its shape. Not too much, not too little, just enough to fall and to float. When a raindrop has grown heavy enough to fall, the journey begins, not suddenly, not sharply, but softly. There is no splash at the start, no loud departure, only a quiet release. The droplet, suspended in its cloud cradle for so long, finally lets go. It begins to descend. The fall is not fast, not yet. The drop slips downward gently, tugged by gravity, cushioned by air. It moves through invisible layers of atmosphere, each one a little different from the last. Warmer, cooler, drier, moister. The drop glides through these changes, shaped and slowed by the world around it. This is not a plummet, it's a passage. As it falls, the raindrop encounters resistance, the soft push of air against its motion. This resistance presses upward against the drop's base, flattening it ever so slightly. The faster it falls, the more pronounced this shape becomes. Round gives way to something flatter, more oval, like a tiny water balloon riding a current. Winds may shift its path. A gust might carry it sideways or upward for a moment, before gravity gently resumes its pull. Some drops sway in slow spirals. Others tumble in smooth arcs. Each descent is different, sculpted by the invisible hand of the air. And as it falls, the droplet remains in constant dialogue with its environment. If the air below is warm and dry, some of the drop may evaporate before it lands. If it is cool and moist, the drop may survive intact. If it collides with another droplet, it may merge and grow, or it may split again, always adapting, always in quiet motion. The fall can take several minutes. In that time, the drop may travel thousands of feet, from the highest towers of the cloud to the ground far below. It may pass through beams of sunlight, glinting as it falls, or it may drift through mist and greyness, unseen but no less graceful. This fall is not just a movement, it's a transformation. What was once vapor, lifted by warmth, has become something tangible, and now, in its fall, it is becoming part of the earth again, and perhaps part of you. A drop may land on your window or your skin, or disappear into the quiet soil. It may join a puddle, feed a root, ripple through a stream, but in this moment, it is still falling, still in between. So, as you rest tonight, imagine this descent. A single droplet drifting downward, through air that shifts in color and temperature. Its fall is slow, peaceful, undisturbed. Let your thoughts follow it, gently downward. No rush, no noise, just a quiet passage from sky to soil. And in this soft motion, may you find a rhythm to breathe with, a pace to settle into, a gentle descent of your own into rest. Raindrops don't fall in straight lines. Though we might imagine them falling neatly, like threads from the sky, the truth is far more graceful. Raindrops dance. They twirl, they drift, they glide sideways. Their descent is a kind of soft choreography, an invisible waltz shaped by the shifting layers of air through which they pass. Let's follow their movement, slowly. As a raindrop begins to fall, it doesn't simply drop downward. Instead, it enters a sky full of motion. Even on calm days, the atmosphere is layered with different currents. Some flow gently upward, others move sideways, some swirl in lazy spirals. And each layer brings its own texture of wind, of humidity, of warmth or coolness. The raindrop moves through these layers like a dancer crossing a stage. It is guided, nudged, invited to spin. A gust of wind might push it to the side. A pocket of turbulence might set it tumbling. Some drops sway in long zigzags. Others flutter slightly, like small petals on the breeze. No two paths are exactly the same. And that's what makes the fall so mesmerizing. The sky becomes a quiet playground, and each drop traces its own invisible line, a unique signature drawn through air and light. Some drops fall close together, almost in harmony, mirroring one another like quiet partners. Others drift apart, carving separate trails as if dancing solo. Even in something as simple as rain, there is individuality, there is story. When rain falls gently and you watch it closely, perhaps from under a porch roof or behind a window pane, you might notice this movement. Not a downpour, but a drift, each drop tracing its own subtle path, catching the light in small, shifting angles. In this quiet dance, the raindrop is in constant conversation with the atmosphere. It listens to wind, it adjusts to pressure, it sways to the tune of turbulence, and even when it seems to be falling downward, it's never truly still. It is always responding. This is not chaos, it's grace. Even in motion, there is softness. The turbulence is not violent. The wind does not shove, it whispers, it guides, it offers direction, and the raindrop, ever yielding, follows with ease. Some of the most peaceful rains are the ones where this dance is slow. A lazy spiral through calm air, a drop tracing a curved path through golden evening light. A fall not of haste, but of expression. As you rest tonight, picture this descent. You as a raindrop, surrounded by the vast hush of sky. Floating downward, not in a line, but in a dance. Touched by wind, held by air, moving freely within the soft embrace of atmosphere. And in that gentle movement, may your thoughts sway too. Let your breath mirror the drift. Let your body soften like mist. Let your dreams spiral calmly, like raindrops, dancing through the quiet sky. Even before it arrives, rain speaks. Long before the first drop touches the ground, it begins to make itself known, not in words, but in sound. A hush, a murmur, a soft patter far away. Rain has a voice, and that voice is soothing. It begins as a whisper, barely heard. Perhaps you notice it as a change in the air, a softening, a cooling. Then, far in the distance, a sound begins to rise. Not sharp or sudden, but gentle, like footsteps padding across an old wooden floor, like paper rustling in a quiet room. The sound of distant rain is something many have compared to a lullaby. It's steady, repetitive, softly textured, a natural rhythm that calms the senses. It builds not with urgency, but with comfort. Each drop becomes part of a greater whole, and together they form a kind of music, an orchestration of water and air. On rooftops, rain becomes a percussionist, tapping gently, then slowly gathering into a rolling rhythm. On leaves, it creates a softer sound, like tiny brushes swishing across silk. Against windows, it creates a delicate pattern of taps and trails, like fingers drumming absent-mindedly in thought. The sound of rain is always different, depending on what it touches. Yet always, it soothes. Even in the distance, the sound prepares you. It lets you know something gentle is approaching. It invites you to listen, to slow down, to feel safe beneath the roof or canopy above. Many find comfort in falling asleep to this sound. There's something primal, something deeply familiar in the hush of rain. It quiets the mind, it softens the heart rate, it lowers the world's volume, and in doing so, it makes room for rest. Scientists have even studied it. The sound of rain, it turns out, is close to something called pink noise, a frequency pattern known to promote relaxation and deeper sleep. It has texture, but no harsh edges, repetition, but no sharpness. It's the sound of balance, of presence without pressure. So tonight, let's imagine the sound of rain as it approaches, not crashing, but arriving softly. Imagine hearing it from a distance, growing slowly. The world outside darkens, the air cools, and the hush becomes a lullaby. It doesn't matter if the rain is truly falling outside your window tonight, or only in your imagination. The sound can still reach you. You can still rest beneath its rhythm. Let your thoughts quiet now, like rooftops waiting for the first drops. Let your breath steady, like trees listening for the hush. and let the music of rain, near or far, become your soundtrack to sleep. As a raindrop begins its descent, it enters more than just gravity's pull. It begins a journey through layers, each one a different kind of sky. The atmosphere, though it seems invisible and smooth from our place below, is built in subtle tiers. Each has its own temperature, its own moisture, its own quiet influence on the falling drop. Let's drift through those layers now, slowly. The top of the cloud is often much colder than the air near the ground, and in between there are shifting pockets, some warm, some cool, some dry, some damp. As the raindrop passes through these layers, it experiences them like sensations. It responds. It adapts. In colder zones, a drop may freeze for a time, becoming a tiny ice pellet or even a snowflake. But if it then passes through a warmer layer below, it may melt again. What begins as ice may become liquid once more, and then, depending on the next layer, it might freeze again, or evaporate, or grow. There is no single story for a falling raindrop. Some drops travel through layers so warm and moist that they grow larger, merging with others along the way. Others pass through dry, chilly air that begins to draw them apart, thinning them out, weakening their structure. In certain conditions, a raindrop may evaporate mid-fall, never reaching the ground. In other places, the drop might survive all its changes and arrive whole, kissing the earth as a complete, glistening sphere. These shifts happen silently, invisibly. We can't see the exact moment a drop freezes, or melts, or vanishes into vapor again. But the atmosphere is always reshaping what falls. A drop is not just falling, it's transforming constantly in response to the layers of air it moves through. And each transformation is soft. There's no abruptness here, just gentle transitions. Water giving way to ice, ice softening back into water, liquid slipping into vapor, and vapor becoming cloud once more. A cycle without corners, only curves. It's humbling in a way to think that a single drop of rain might have worn many forms before we ever see it. That the drizzle we feel on our skin was once ice. That a puddle outside may have once floated as mist. That even in a single fall, water continues its endless dance of becoming. And so, tonight, we imagine the drop not just falling, but adapting, changing quietly as it moves through invisible landscapes of air, responding with grace, evolving without resistance. You too pass through layers in your day, layers of thought, emotion, memory, sometimes warm, sometimes cool. And like the raindrop, you continue downward, gently reshaping with each moment. So let this idea comfort you. Let it remind you that softness can survive change, that even in transition there is beauty, and that you, like the rain, are always held by the air around you. Not every raindrop reaches the ground. Some begin their descent with purpose, falling from the soft bellies of clouds, only to disappear before they arrive. They don't land on leaves or ripple puddles. Instead, they vanish into air, returning to the sky quietly, like a breath unspoken. This gentle phenomenon is called virga. You may have seen it before, without knowing its name. From a distance, it looks like streaks of rain trailing from the base of a cloud. Long, wispy lines that seem to be falling. But if you watch closely, you'll notice they never reach the ground. They fade mid-air, dissolving into vapor. Virga occurs when rain falls into a layer of dry air below the cloud. The droplet begins its journey, but as it moves downward, the dry air pulls moisture away. The raindrop begins to evaporate, slowly at first, then completely. What was once liquid becomes vapor again, rejoining the atmosphere from which it came. It is not a failure, it is a return. There's something deeply peaceful about Virga. It's the suggestion of rain without the arrival. A sky that holds the memory of falling water, but lets it go before it touches earth. A kind of ghost rain, visible but untouchable. And though these drops never land, they still leave their mark. Virga cools the air beneath it, subtly shifting the temperature. It adds moisture to the sky, softening the dryness of the layer below, and it tells a quiet story that even rain that doesn't finish its fall still plays a part in the world around it. Tonight, let's imagine that moment, a droplet drifting downward, growing lighter with each breath of dry air it touches, becoming less, becoming mist, becoming invisible again, not lost, but transformed. You may have had moments like that, beginnings that never quite reached their end, thoughts that faded, plans that shifted, dreams that dissolved before they took form. But even those moments carry meaning. Even things that never quite arrive still leave beauty behind. Virga is the sky's way of exhaling. And so, as you rest, let go of anything that doesn't need to land tonight. Let your thoughts drift like soft streaks beneath a cloud. Let them dissolve gently into the quiet air. Not every fall must finish. Not every journey must end on the ground. Some are meant to vanish in peace. Not all raindrops arrive as liquid. Sometimes, on their journey from cloud to ground, the air around them shifts, subtly at first, then unmistakably. Warm layers give way to chill. The drop, once fluid and free, begins to freeze. Its descent is no less graceful, only quieter, crisper, transformed. Tonight, we drift into that gentle transformation, the moment when a raindrop becomes ice. As a droplet falls through the sky, it passes through layers of atmosphere, each with its own unique temperature and moisture. If the upper layer is warm, vapor condenses into liquid. But if the layer below is colder, cold enough to freeze, it becomes a different kind of rain altogether. One path leads to sleet, raindrops that freeze into tiny ice pellets before they reach the ground. They tap softly on rooftops, like miniature chimes. Each one carries the story of warmth followed by cold, a liquid heart turned solid in the final stretch of descent. Another path leads to freezing rain, a quieter kind of ice. In this case, the drop remains liquid all the way down, only to freeze upon touching the surface. Trees, roads, power lines, even blades of grass become coated in a delicate layer of crystal. A glaze, a hush, as if the world has been wrapped in glass. In both cases, the raindrop has not lost its identity. It has simply changed form in response to its surroundings. It is still water, still part of the cycle, but now hardened, preserved, paused. There is beauty in this pause, in the stillness of a droplet turned to ice. Each one carries within it the memory of the warmer layer it passed through, the softness that came before. And within that memory, we see the sky's ability to hold both warmth and cold, both fluidity and form. The next time you hear sleet pattering against a window, or see freezing rain catch the light on a bare branch, you'll know these aren't just frozen things. They are stories, raindrops that traveled through layers of contrast, raindrops that changed but did not vanish. And perhaps you've had days like that too, when a warm heart passed through something cold, when your own softness was touched by stillness. And yet, like the raindrop, you continued. So tonight, let the frozen drop be a comfort. Let it remind you that even in coldness there is clarity, even in stillness there is motion waiting. The sky holds both, and so can you. After its long journey through the sky, through layers of air, through changes in shape and form, a raindrop finally reaches the ground. This moment, though quiet, is profound. It is the meeting of sky and soil, of motion and stillness, of cloud and earth. Let's slow down here and feel the first touch. The raindrop may land on a leaf, resting gently in its curve, or it may strike a stone, bursting into a tiny splash before being absorbed into moss below. It might kiss the surface of a pond, sending out concentric ripples, echoes of its arrival. Or it may slide down a window pane, leaving a silvery trail behind. Sometimes the landing is barely noticed, a soft absorption into thirsty soil, a delicate merge with a blade of grass. Other times it's more playful, a splash on the sidewalk, a drumbeat on a rooftop, a quick tap on your skin that cools you gently. But always it is a return. The drop has come home, not to where it began, but to where it belongs next. What once floated high above as vapor, held within clouds, has now become part of the world below. It may seep into the earth, joining the roots of trees, or flow across a surface, joining other drops in a growing stream. It may nourish, it may pool, it may disappear. And in that landing, the journey changes. It doesn't end, but it becomes something new. Even the softest raindrop carries a quiet kind of purpose. It brings with it minerals, energy, and memory. The memory of the sky, the story of temperature, wind, and time. And now, with a single moment of contact, it begins its next chapter. Imagine this. You are lying beneath a canopy of trees. The sky above is dim, the air cool and calm. You hear the hush of rain approaching, and then one drop, just one, falls onto your forehead. You feel it, a small, cold dot of presence, a signal that the sky has reached down and touched you. It's easy to miss this moment. We often think of rain as a whole, waves, storms, showers, but each drop lands alone. Each one makes its own small connection with the world. So tonight, let us honor that moment of contact, the first gentle meeting. The drop has made its descent. It has passed through change. It has survived heat, wind, even evaporation. And now, at last, it arrives. And maybe you're arriving too. From the thoughts of your day, from the drifting of your mind, from the layers you've moved through, this is your moment to land, to settle, to be still. Let the first touch be your anchor. Let your body relax like earth receiving rain. Let your breath fall softly, like a drop coming home. There is something quietly poetic about the moment when a raindrop lands on a leaf. Not the forceful splash of a storm, but the soft encounter between water and green. One element from the sky, the other rooted in the earth. Together, they meet in a moment of stillness. And that moment, if we slow down enough to notice, is a small miracle of nature's design. Some leaves are shaped like open palms, cradling raindrops in gentle curves. Others are pointed, directing water downward in a perfect channel, as if guiding it along a tiny path. Each leaf, in its own quiet way, offers architecture to the rain, a place to pause, a surface to shimmer on. Let's settle into that image together. A single droplet falls from above, shaped by air and wind. It glides, then lands softly on a broad green leaf. It might roll for a moment, following the veins like a river through a valley. Or it might stop completely, settling into a small, quivering sphere. Surface tension holds it in place, like a jewel balanced on silk. In the early moments after rain, You might notice leaves beaded with droplets, each one catching light like glass. These aren't just decorative, they're part of a delicate exchange. The leaf holds the drop, and in doing so, allows it to linger a little longer, slowing evaporation, supporting absorption, extending the moment of contact between sky and soil. Some plants, especially those in rain-heavy environments, have evolved intricate designs to guide this water where it's needed. Grooves, funnels, ridges, tiny channels that carry water from the outer edge of the leaf down to the base of the stem. In this way, a raindrop's landing becomes not an ending, but a beginning. A quiet journey down the leaf's back, along its sides, into the roots below. And some droplets, held high on the surface, become tiny mirrors. If you look closely, you can sometimes see the reflection of the world. Clouds, branches, even your own eyes, in the round glisten of a single drop. Isn't it remarkable how much softness can be held in one quiet meeting? The next time you walk outside after rain, notice how the leaves respond. Some sag with the weight of water, others bounce lightly, and some, especially those with fuzzy or waxy surfaces, let the water slide right off, like a silken cloak shedding dew. There's no single way to receive the rain, just as there's no single path for a drop to take. But in every meeting of water and leaf, there is cooperation, quiet choreography, mutual presence. Tonight, imagine yourself as that drop again, falling gently, landing softly, resting on the outstretched palm of a leaf. No rush, no worry, just presence, just contact. Let that image hold you. Let your breath slow. Let your body soften. You are resting, leaf by leaf, in nature's quiet embrace. There's a certain scent that follows the rain, earthy, deep, almost ancient. It rises after the first drops touch the ground, subtle at first, then unmistakable. We call it petrichor, a word that means stone's essence, or the blood of the earth. It's more than just a smell, it's a memory, a signal, a story the land tells after being touched by the sky. Let's breathe that in together now. Petrichor is caused by a combination of natural elements. One is a type of oil released by plants and soil during dry periods. These oils build up on surfaces, on rocks, bark, leaves, and earth, waiting patiently. When rain falls, it disturbs those particles, lifting them into the air. Another contributor is a compound called geosmin, a product of soil-dwelling microbes, particularly a group of bacteria called actinomycetes. When disturbed by moisture, geosmin is released into the air, where our noses detect it with remarkable sensitivity. Even a trace amount can awaken a sense of recognition, a feeling of groundedness, and in some storms, lightning plays a role too. The intense heat from a lightning bolt splits molecules in the air, creating ozone, a sharp, fresh scent that mingles with the richer, earthier smells from below. Together, these elements create the perfume of the sky meeting the soil. Petrichor is strongest after the first rain following a dry spell. It's as if the land exhales. The scent rises not in haste, but in quiet waves. It wraps around us. It invites us to pause, to notice, to remember that even the ground beneath our feet has breath and voice. For many, the smell of rain evokes emotion, comfort, nostalgia, stillness. It reminds us of childhood storms, of garden walks, of open windows and cooling winds. It's not just a chemical response, it's a sensory embrace. As you rest tonight, imagine walking through a quiet landscape just after a rain. The air is still, the sky is grey-blue, the ground is darkened with moisture, and rising from the earth is that scent, rich, mineral, clean. It drifts around you, soft as mist. You don't need to analyze it. Just breathe it in. Let it reach a place in you beyond words. Let it settle. Because petrichor isn't just about the rain, it's about connection. Between sky and soil, between past and present, between what falls and what receives. So inhale gently now, and as you exhale, let yourself feel rooted, like stone, like earth, like something ancient, touched softly by the sky. Not all rains are the same. Some drift in like breath, so light you barely feel them. Others arrive with rhythm, tapping steadily across rooftops and branches, steady as a lullaby. Rain wears many moods, and each kind carries its own emotional texture, its own quiet character. Let's rest beneath a few of them, together. Soft rain is often the most calming. Sometimes called drizzle or mist, it floats more than it falls. The droplets are small, almost weightless. They settle gently on skin and leaves, forming beads of water like dew delivered from the sky. In soft rain, the world slows down. The sounds are hushed, streets empty, animals retreat. The air thickens slightly, wrapping the landscape in a veil of moisture. It's a rain for introspection, for silence, for walking slowly with your collar up, or watching from a window with tea in hand. It's the kind of rain that blurs the line between cloud and earth. You don't see it fall, you feel it settle. Now, consider the heavier rain. Still gentle, still welcome, but with more presence. The drops are larger. They fall with rhythm, tapping steadily on rooftops, echoing off gutters, splashing in puddles. It's not a downpour, but a consistent curtain of water that moves across the land like a slow procession. This kind of rain is hypnotic. Each drop contributes to a soothing repetition, a soundscape of soft percussion, played not with instruments, but with water. It invites you to listen, not for meaning, but for pattern. The sameness becomes comforting, predictable, safe. Heavy showers often bring that distinctive smell of petrichor, the coolness in the air, and the occasional flutter of wind. The trees sway, the grasses bow. The whole landscape moves gently with the rhythm of falling water. Some days bring both, a soft drizzle in the morning, a heavier shower in the afternoon, a light mist beneath grey skies, followed by rhythmic drops beneath gathering clouds. The transitions are subtle, like emotional shifts in a dream. There's no need to favour one kind of rain over another. Each has its place. Each tells its own story. Let your thoughts follow them now. Perhaps tonight, you imagine a soft rain drifting through your open window. You don't hear it land, you feel its presence in the hush. Or maybe it's a steadier fall outside, one that taps gently on your roof as you rest, the rhythm syncing with your breath. In either case, you are safe, you are warm, and the rain is only here to soothe. Let it fall, let it surround you, let it guide you deeper into calm. A raindrop's fall does not end at the surface. The moment it touches the ground, whether a leaf, a patch of soil, or a smooth stone, it begins a new kind of journey, one that isn't seen, but still continues, quietly, downward. Let's follow the raindrop, underground. If the soil is dry and welcoming, the drop is absorbed quickly. It seeps into the upper layers, drawn downward by gravity and pulled inward by thirst. Some of it clings to root hairs, nourishing plants from beneath. Some of it winds around grains of sand, travelling further. The pace here is slower, softer. There is no falling anymore, only soaking, filtering, becoming part of something older. As it moves deeper, the raindrop may join others, tiny rivulets of moisture weaving together into small, hidden streams beneath the surface. These narrow veins of water flow through gaps in rock, through layers of clay, through cool, dark places that have never seen the sun. This is where the earth stores its rain, in aquifers, underground reservoirs formed over centuries. These chambers are quiet, patient. Some hold water that fell decades, even centuries ago. A drop may rest there for a long time, nestled among stone and silence. Other droplets may find a quicker path, joining underground channels that lead towards springs and creeks. Eventually, that water may re-emerge, bubbling up into a pool, feeding a river, or rising slowly through a well. Nothing is wasted. Rain that disappears from sight is not lost. It is absorbed, transformed, moved. It becomes part of roots, part of soil, part of the earth's hidden rhythm. And just like the fall from sky to ground, this underground passage is a kind of falling too, only slower, deeper, more still. There's something comforting in imagining this path, a journey not of speed, but of patience, a descent not into darkness, but into rest. Perhaps your own thoughts tonight are like those raindrops, ready to settle, to move beneath the surface, to find their way through the layers, to rest in cool places and wait. You don't need to hurry. You don't need to rise. You are allowed to sink gently into quiet, into calm, into sleep. The sky has done its part, and now the earth receives. Let yourself be received too. When rain touches the earth, it doesn't always remain alone. One drop becomes many. Many become movement. And that movement, soft and slow at first, marks the quiet birth of a river. Let's drift into that unfolding together. A single raindrop lands, perhaps on a leaf, or a blade of grass, or the curve of a smooth stone. It may linger briefly, then slip downward, guided by gravity, by the shape of the land, and by the company of other drops. These small gatherings of rain begin to trace paths in the soil, little trickles, rivulets, veins of moisture weaving their way across the ground. Some puddle in low spots, shallow pools that reflect the sky. Others begin to slide downhill, carving gentle tracks through moss and mud. As more drops join in, the flow strengthens. Trickles become threads. Threads become streams. And thus, a brook is born. This new body of water carries with it more than just moisture. It holds minerals from stone, nutrients from soil, and the memory of every place it's touched. It winds through forests, curls between roots, and sings softly as it moves. The land listens to it. Birds pause beside it. Leaves fall into it and are carried away. Over time, the brook meets other brooks. Each one brings its own sound, its own rhythm. They merge, they braid, and together they become a stream, a voice that speaks with water, that whispers through valleys, that grows with every tributary added to its flow. Eventually, the stream may widen into a river, majestic and unhurried, flowing not because it must, but because it can, because movement is its nature now. All of it, born from rain. Each drop within the river once fell from a cloud. Each had its own path, its own fall, its own landing. And yet, here they are, together, flowing as one, a quiet chorus of raindrops in motion. There's something comforting in this idea, that the small, solitary drop doesn't stay alone for long, that from scattered beginnings, a gathering forms, that rivers are not created by force, but by patient joining. And so, tonight, you might imagine your thoughts doing the same, coming together softly, one by one, until they flow gently into something larger, a stream of rest, a current of calm. The rain becomes a river, and the river flows through dreams. The journey of a raindrop doesn't truly end. It simply changes direction. Even after it has fallen, after it has soaked into soil or flowed to a stream, its path continues. Because water is never still for long, it rises, it falls, it moves through the world in a quiet, unbroken rhythm. Tonight, we follow that circle. Let's return to our raindrop, now part of a river. It flows downstream, maybe reaching a lake or the sea. There, beneath the open sky, something ancient begins to stir. The sun warms the surface. Gentle waves shimmer, and molecules of water begin to lift, one by one, into the air. This is evaporation. The liquid becomes vapor once more, rising softly, invisibly, into the sky. It carries with it the memory of rain, of river, of stone. And as it ascends, it becomes part of the atmosphere again, part of the breath of the planet. As the vapor climbs higher, it meets cooler air. It begins to condense, forming clouds, just as it did before. Around tiny particles, droplets gather. A cloud is born, and somewhere inside it, a familiar raindrop begins to take shape again. This is the cycle, the endless return. Cloud, fall, earth, sky. There is no beginning, no final end, only transformation. Water becomes air, air becomes cloud, cloud becomes rain, rain becomes river, river becomes ocean, and ocean, warmed by sun, becomes air again. It is a circle without corners, a rhythm without rush. The ancient ones knew this. Farmers, sailors, wanderers. They all watched the skies and the waters, knowing that rain would return, that streams would refill, that every drop would find its way back to the beginning, back to becoming something else. And maybe we can take comfort in that, in knowing that even when something disappears, it hasn't gone. It's only changed form, moved forward, begun again. You too are part of this cycle. The breath you exhale will return to the sky. The water you drink once fell as rain. We are all made of what moves, what flows, what returns. So, as you drift tonight, imagine yourself as a raindrop again, resting in a stream, lifting into mist, becoming sky, becoming cloud, becoming rain once more. You don't need to hold on. You are part of something circular, something ancient, something endlessly soft. Let the cycle carry you now into sleep. Not every place touched by clouds receives rain. Some skies, though heavy with promise, remain dry. And in the stillness beneath these quiet skies, something subtle is happening. Tonight, we drift into a place shaped by absence, a landscape known as a rain shadow. Imagine a tall mountain range rising across the land. On one side, moist air travels in from the sea, climbing upward along the mountain's slope. As the air ascends, it cools. Cooler air holds less moisture, and so the water vapor condenses, forming clouds. Eventually, rain begins to fall, wetting the windward side of the mountains, feeding rivers, greening the forested slopes. But as the air reaches the peak and passes over to the other side, something changes. The descending air begins to warm, and warmer air, in turn, can hold more moisture. So, instead of releasing more rain, the air now pulls moisture back in. The clouds begin to thin, the sky brightens, and the rain stops. This is the rain shadow. The land on the leeward side of the mountains lies in the quiet hush of dryness, not because the clouds have forgotten it, but because the air has changed its rhythm. Rain shadows are not deserts in the usual sense. They are shaped by the geometry of weather, by the flow of wind, by the mountain's silent decision to divide the sky. Some of the world's driest regions lie in rain shadows, like the Atacama Desert in Chile, or the high plains behind the Sierra Nevada in the United States. These areas, shielded from regular rainfall, are sculpted instead by sun, silence, and slow erosion. Sparse, but not lifeless. Dry, but not forgotten. And even here, life finds its way. Plants adapt. Animals adjust. People learn to live with the rhythm of rare rains and long dry spells. There is still beauty, just painted in softer strokes. As you lie back tonight, imagine standing in one of these rain shadows. The air is still. The sky above is wide, open, untouched by falling water. Behind you, clouds gather and release. But here, you feel the pause, the in-between, the spaciousness of a sky at rest. Let that spaciousness settle into your breath. There is no need for hurry, no need for sound. Just the quiet presence of a place where the rain has chosen not to fall. And yet, somehow, the story of the raindrop still lives here, in the patterns of the rock, the pathways carved by past storms, and the deep memory of water once fallen. Rain shadows remind us that absence can be part of the pattern, that even in dryness there is design, and that sometimes what doesn't arrive can still shape what grows. Even the driest places in the world are not without hope of rain. And when it comes, when that rare moment arrives, it's nothing short of a quiet miracle. A desert rain, brief, gentle, transformative. Let's wander into that silence and listen for the drop. Deserts are places of extremes, long stretches of sun-baked earth, winds that shape the dunes, temperatures that swing from scorching heat by day to cold, breathless nights. Water here is precious, rare, and deeply remembered. When rain does fall, it often begins almost invisibly. A faint darkening of the clouds on the horizon, a subtle shift in the scent of the air, and then the first drop, cool, unexpected, soft against dust. Sometimes the rain arrives as a gentle curtain, more mist than storm. Other times it falls in short bursts, soaking into sand and stone before it can run away. The land responds almost instantly. Seeds that have waited beneath the surface, sometimes for years, begin to stir. Within hours, tiny sprouts emerge. Within days, blossoms appear. The desert blooms. Bright wildflowers unfurl. Green spreads like a whisper across hills that were bare just days before. Insects return. Birds call out. Life, once hidden, becomes visible again. All because of a single, rare event. The fall of rain. The desert doesn't need constant moisture. It only needs a visit, a reminder. And when that reminder comes, it answers with colour, fragrance, and motion. This response is called ephemeral, fleeting, short-lived. But that doesn't make it any less meaningful. In fact, its very brevity is what gives it such quiet power. And even when the rain vanishes, its influence remains. Roots grow deeper. Seeds are planted. Cooled air lingers in shadowed canyons. The memory of rain holds on long after the droplets have gone. Tonight, imagine walking barefoot across desert ground just after a rain. The sand is damp beneath your feet. The air smells of wet earth and stone. Around you, small blossoms have opened towards the sky. There is no noise, only stillness, only the feeling that something sacred has happened. Rain in the desert reminds us that even the most barren places carry the potential for life. That even when something appears empty, it may only be waiting. Let that thought soothe you. You are not empty. You are not forgotten. You are simply resting between rains. And when the time is right, even you may bloom. Some rains are not random visitors. They return like clockwork, like breath. They arrive with the season, on time, anticipated, deeply woven into the life of the land. These are the monsoon rains. Tonight, we follow the rhythm of those seasonal storms. Not loud, not alarming, just steady. Like a drumbeat in the distance. Like the turning of the earth itself. The word monsoon comes from the Arabic mausim, meaning season. And that's exactly what it is. A season of change, marked by winds that shift and by rains that return. Monsoons occur in various places around the world, from South Asia to West Africa to parts of North and South America. Each has its own rhythm, its own story. In South Asia, the summer monsoon is a lifeline. After months of heat and dryness, the sky darkens with promise. The wind changes direction, bringing moisture-laden air from the ocean toward the land. Clouds gather, the air thickens, and then it rains. Not briefly, but for weeks, sometimes months. The rain arrives in waves, at times soft, at times soaking. Fields drink deeply, rivers swell, the dry earth softens, and life, once paused by heat, returns with a kind of joy. This is not gentle drizzle. It's a rain that has a presence, a rain that announces itself. But it is not harsh, it is simply full of water, full of motion, full of meaning. Entire cultures have shaped themselves around this returning rhythm. Planting schedules, harvests, festivals, songs and prayers. The monsoon is not just weather, it is story, it is tradition, it is hope and memory arriving in the form of rain. Of course, monsoons can sometimes bring too much. Flooding, landslides, interruption. But even then, the people who live within their reach know that this rain is part of the cycle, a force to be respected, not feared. Monsoons remind us that not all rain is solitary. Some rains are collective, rhythmic, shared by entire regions, entire populations. Rain that binds people together in the waiting, in the arrival, in the aftermath. So, as you rest tonight, imagine the slow pulse of a monsoon season. Days that begin with dry heat, then darken gently into afternoon rain. The sound of it falling steadily on rooftops, on palm leaves, on packed earth. The smell of soil rising into the air. The sense that this moment has come before and will come again, like a heartbeat, like breath, like sleep returning each night. Monsoon rain doesn't just fall, it returns. And with it, so much begins again. Rain doesn't just touch the earth, it transforms it. A place under rain becomes something else. A city slows, a forest deepens, a single window becomes a stage where water plays out small, silent stories. Tonight, we wander through places where rain has left its mark, not in flooding or force, but in feeling, in atmosphere, in memory. Begin with a city. Under clear skies, the city hums. Movement, noise, reflection. But when rain begins to fall, the pace changes. Streets shimmer. Headlights stretch into golden ribbons. Umbrellas bloom like petals opening against the sky. There is quiet where there was once clatter. The air feels thicker, more intimate. As if the city itself is exhaling. Sidewalks darken. People pause beneath awnings. Windows fog. Conversations grow hushed. Even sirens seem to soften. In the rain, the city becomes reflective, not just in the puddles, but in spirit. Now step into a forest. Here, the rain doesn't just fall, it lingers, catches on leaves, drips from branch to branch. The entire canopy becomes an instrument, playing a slow, endless percussion of droplets. The moss glows deeper green. Ferns tremble under the weight of water. The ground, softened, breathes. The forest in rain feels older, timeless. Every scent becomes richer. Earth, bark, damp stone. The trails narrow into tunnels of sound and mist. A walk becomes a journey. A pause becomes a meditation. You are no longer passing through the forest, you are part of it. And finally, the window. A raindrop on glass is a story unfolding. It lands with a tap, joins others, and begins to slide. It leaves a trail, a path, a moment. When you sit beside a window in the rain, the world narrows. You are in two places at once. Inside, safe and still. Outside, drifting with the weather. Thoughts soften. Time stretches. The rain outside makes the inside feel warmer. All these places, city, forest, window, are shaped by the presence of rain. And when the rain is gone, the memory remains. A scent in the air, a ripple in a puddle, a feeling that the place has shifted, if only for a while. So tonight, recall a place you love and place it in the rain. What changes? What softens? What becomes visible? Rain does not erase, it reveals. It shows us places, not in their brightest light, but in their truest hush. Let the memory of those quiet places carry you now. Let it be your path into sleep. Drizzle is more than just light rain. It may seem simple, soft, small drops falling slowly from a low sky, but within that softness lies a quiet kind of precision. Drizzle has its own rules, its own personality, its own science. And tonight, we drift gently into it. Let's begin by setting the scene. The clouds are low, stratus clouds, stretched out like a grey blanket overhead. There is no towering thunderhead, no swirling storm, just a quiet ceiling of mist. And from it, the rain begins, not in large drops, but in tiny ones, almost more felt than seen, barely audible, as if the sky were exhaling moisture. Technically speaking, drizzle is defined not just by how much rain falls, but by the size of the droplets and the speed at which they fall. Drizzle drops are small, less than 0.5 millimeter across. Because of their size, they fall slowly, sometimes only a few feet per second. They don't rush to the earth, they float. This gentle pace makes drizzle different from other rain. It clings to air, it hangs in place. It soaks quietly, rather than splashing. You may find your coat damp without ever hearing the rain. You may see a glisten on the pavement before you feel a single drop on your hand. It often feels more like mist than rain. And in some cases, that's almost exactly what it is. In fact, drizzle often forms in foggy or coastal areas, where the air is saturated but calm, where there's just enough lift in the atmosphere to let droplets form, but not enough turbulence to stir them into showers. Everything about drizzle is soft, its origin, its fall, its effect. Meteorologists distinguish drizzle not just by its subtle presence, but by how it interacts with the land. It tends to linger, coating surfaces with a fine film. Roads become slick not from depth, but from persistent wetness. Leaves shimmer, air thickens. And yet, drizzle is not dreary. It is soothing. It is the rain of slow mornings, of muted walks, of half-open umbrellas and steaming cups of tea. It is the rain of pause. When drizzle falls, it invites us to look closer, to notice the way droplets gather along a branch, the way they bead on windows, the way sound becomes muffled, softened, as if the world has been wrapped in wool. It doesn't interrupt, it envelops. Tonight, imagine standing outside during a drizzle. The air is cool, the sky is close, the rain falls without urgency. It dots your sleeves, moistens your eyelashes, fills the space between breaths. You are not rushing for cover. You are simply being, wrapped in the hush, held in the grey. Let the science of drizzle remind you that even the smallest things have structure, that even quiet rain follows patterns, that softness can still be precise. And in that soft precision, there is peace. There's something comforting about watching the world through a rain-speckled window. It's a simple pleasure, being warm and still on one side of the glass, while droplets tap and trail across the surface, softening the view beyond. Time slows, shapes blur. The world becomes a watercolor of motion and light. Let's settle here, behind the glass. The window becomes a canvas. Raindrops dot it like tiny brushstrokes. Some cling where they land. Others begin to slide, merging with neighbors, leaving glistening paths in their wake. The trails they draw are unpredictable, curved, crooked, gentle zigzags shaped by gravity and glass. Beyond the window, the scene is transformed. A familiar landscape, a garden, a street, a skyline becomes something new. Trees shimmer behind a veil of water. Cars pass as streaks of color. Lights glow with a softened halo. Everything appears slightly farther away, slightly slower, slightly quieter. There's a quiet joy in this distance. You are part of the world, but protected from it. You observe without needing to respond. You witness change without being changed. It's the peaceful pause of looking out and staying in. For many, rain on glass carries memory. Childhood afternoons, long car rides, waiting rooms, morning reflections, and often the gentle rhythm of thought. The kind that meanders, that doesn't hurry. The sound helps too. Rain on a window pane creates a delicate percussion, sometimes a soft tap, sometimes a gentle streaking sound as a droplet slides down. Together, the visual and the auditory create a kind of sensory lullaby, one that cradles the mind into quiet. This is why we so often find ourselves staring out windows during rain. Not to look for anything, but to feel something, to be still in a moving world. The blurred view helps with that. It removes sharp edges. It softens contrast. It turns objects into suggestion. A person walking becomes a shape. A building becomes texture. The scene invites imagination. It becomes a dream in motion. Tonight, imagine yourself by such a window. A warm drink in your hands. A soft light behind you. Rain drifting across the glass. Beyond it, the world continues, but slowly, gently. Your breath fogs the pain. Your thoughts match the fall of each drop. Nothing needs to be done. There is no destination. Just this moment. Just this view. And if your mind begins to wander, let it. Let it follow the rivulets on the glass. Let it rest in the blur. Let it slide downward, like a raindrop with no hurry. You are inside now. You are watching. You are safe. And outside, the world keeps raining, beautifully. Rain can fall lightly or heavily. It can come all at once, or unfold slowly across an entire day. And while we often notice how rain feels, the sound it makes, the way it lands, it's also something we can measure. Meteorologists speak of rain in terms of rainfall rate, how much rain falls within a given period of time. Usually it's measured in millimeters per hour. A soft drizzle might bring just 1 or 2 millimeters in an hour. A steady shower might bring 5. A sudden downpour might drop 20 or more in mere minutes. But tonight, we'll move beyond the numbers, because rainfall rate isn't just about science. It's about rhythm. It's about the tempo of the sky. There's a quiet power in a slow, steady rain. Imagine a gentle rain falling over a quiet landscape for several hours. The drops are small. The fall is soft, but over time, the soil drinks deeply. The moisture has time to sink in, to nourish roots, to fill creeks and replenish groundwater. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is wasted. Now imagine a sudden downpour. Loud, fast, dramatic. The rain slaps rooftops, floods gutters, rushes over pavement. it feels intense. But it doesn't always stay. The ground can't absorb it quickly enough. Much of it runs off, flowing into storm drains, carrying soil with it, sometimes causing floods. It arrives quickly and departs just as fast. Both types of rain deliver the same water, perhaps even the same total amount. But their rhythm changes everything. In this way, rainfall rate becomes more than a measurement. It becomes a story about timing, patience, and presence. A soft fall of 2 millimeters per hour can do more good than a 30 millimeter torrent that vanishes before the land can catch its breath. We learn from this that gentle, persistent efforts often reach deeper than intense bursts. That slow change can nourish more fully than sudden shifts. That a quiet, unhurried presence can leave a longer-lasting impact. Meteorologists track rainfall rates to understand storms and their potential effects. How much flooding might occur, how quickly streams might rise, how long a crop field will stay saturated. But beneath the data lies something more tender, the sky's pace. And that pace changes hour by hour, cloud by cloud. A passing storm may begin in a whisper, crescendo into a steady pour, then fade into mist. The rainfall rate dances quietly, always adjusting, always responding to the layers of air above and the land below. So tonight, listen for your own rainfall rate. Are your thoughts falling in a rush or in a gentle rhythm? Let them soften. Let them stretch out like a slow, nourishing shower. Let each breath be a drop, quiet, complete, unhurried. You don't need to downpour. You can simply fall, slowly. As raindrops fall from the clouds, they're not alone. All around them, other droplets are descending too, each with its own shape, speed, and story. And in the space between sky and earth, something subtle unfolds. A quiet ballet. Raindrops interact. They drift into each other's paths. Some gently collide and join together. Others bounce away or break apart. These delicate mid-air meetings change everything, from the size of the drop, to the way it falls, to whether it reaches the ground at all. Let's float gently into that unseen space, where raindrops meet. Inside a cloud, droplets form around tiny particles. They begin small, almost invisible, but through a process called coalescence, they begin to combine. Two droplets may bump into each other and stick, becoming one. This newly formed drop is heavier, rounder, and starts to fall more quickly. As it descends, it might meet another drop and merge again, or, just as likely, it might split. Sometimes, a drop becomes too large. Air resistance presses upward, flattening it like a soft disc. At a certain point, the tension breaks. The drop wobbles, stretches, and separates into smaller droplets. From one, many are born. These collisions are happening constantly. Billions of tiny dances in the air. No choreography, no conductor. Just the natural motion of water and wind. Not all interactions result in merging. Some drops slide past each other. Some barely touch, then move on. Others collide, but bounce apart. Everything depends on the size of the droplets, the temperature of the air, the presence of wind, and the angle of descent. It's a quiet reminder. Even the simplest things, like rain, are full of complexity, full of connection. You may never see these collisions. You may only feel the rain on your skin, but above you, in the space between cloud and ground, a symphony is playing. Tiny impacts, tiny decisions, a raindrop's path shaped not just by gravity, but by encounter. And sometimes, these meetings change the drop's fate. A small droplet, too light to fall on its own, may merge with another and become heavy enough to begin its descent. Another may shatter, becoming mist. One drop may join many and form the beginning of a stream. Another may vanish before ever arriving. No two paths are the same, and perhaps your own thoughts move like this, merging, shifting, colliding, parting. You don't need to organize them, just let them drift. Let them meet where they meet. Let them shape you gently, without force. Tonight, as you rest, picture yourself surrounded by soft motion, drops all around, falling through air, meeting, parting, becoming, a ballet of water with no stage and no audience, just movement. Let yourself float there, among the droplets, unrushed, unshaped, simply falling. There's something universally soothing about the sound of rain. Whether it's a light patter on the roof, a soft tapping on windows, or the distant hush of a gentle shower falling on leaves. Rain has a way of quieting the mind without ever asking for attention. But why? Tonight, we drift into the science of serenity, exploring why rain, so simple and repetitive, can feel like medicine for the brain. The secret lies, in part, in its rhythm. Raindrops fall in patterns, steady, repeating, yet slightly irregular. The variation is just enough to keep the brain softly engaged, while the overall tempo remains predictable. This blend of pattern and subtle randomness creates what scientists call white noise, a blanket of sound made up of all frequencies blended together in balance. White noise has been shown to calm the nervous system. It helps mask sudden environmental sounds that might startle us. It creates a kind of acoustic cocoon, a space where nothing is too sharp, too loud, or too unpredictable. In that softness, the brain can rest. But it's more than just frequency. It's also about association. Many of us associate rain with shelter, with quiet afternoons inside, with warmth, safety, stillness. Even if we're not consciously thinking of those things, our minds recall them. Rain becomes a signal, not of danger, but of pause. The sound of falling rain slows the heart rate. It encourages deeper breathing. It eases overstimulation. It's a cue that we don't need to be anywhere else, or do anything else. Just listen. Just be. There's also a physiological response. The rhythmic nature of raindrop impact can synchronize with our body's natural rhythms. The tempo of light rain, often around 60 to 80 beats per minute, is close to a resting heart rate. When we hear it, our bodies tend to match it. We slow down naturally, gently, and then there's the emotional layer. Rain reminds us of cycles, of return, of cleansing. It washes over rooftops and sidewalks, rinsing the day away. In literature and film, it often marks a turning point, a moment of change, of renewal, of release. Even without words, we feel it. You may have found yourself staring out a window during a rainstorm, not thinking about anything at all, just drifting. That's the calming power of rain. It invites presence. It gives you permission to stop. So tonight, let your mind settle into that rhythm. Imagine soft drops falling onto leaves, onto water, onto earth. Hear them tapping gently against the window pane. Let that steady sound fill the space around you. Not too loud, not too quiet, just enough. You don't need to understand every reason why it calms you. You only need to listen. The rain is speaking in a language your body already knows. There is something especially comforting about rain at night. While the world rests in darkness and the sounds of the day grow still, the rain continues, softly, steadily, falling through the silence. It's a lullaby from the sky, a hush with weight, a rhythm without urgency. Tonight, we listen from the warmth of the covers as night rain falls, During the day, rain has competition. Cars pass, doors close, voices carry. But at night, those noises fade. The rain becomes clearer, its presence grows. You hear not just the drop, but the space between drops, the rhythm of impact, the subtle shift of wind. The mind, too, is different at night, slower, less guarded, more receptive. The layers of thought begin to peel away. We become quieter inside, and the rain, gentle and unassuming, slips into that space. The sound of rain at night is often described as hypnotic. It repeats, it softens, it doesn't demand anything. You don't listen for meaning, you listen for feeling, and that feeling is safety. To lie in bed and hear rain falling outside is to know shelter, to feel wrapped in protection while the sky continues its quiet work. You're not getting wet, you're not exposed, you're simply close enough to hear it and far enough to rest. Some people use recordings of rain to fall asleep, simulated showers, real rainfall captured from rooftops, forests, or windowsills. But when it's real, when the rain is truly falling outside your home, the effect is even deeper. It becomes part of your room, part of your atmosphere, part of your dream. There is no pressure to sleep, just the soft encouragement of sound. Night rain also brings a slight drop in temperature. The air cools, the atmosphere settles. Everything feels slower, heavier, more still. It's as if the earth itself is breathing out, and the rain is part of that exhale. Tonight, imagine that rain. Hear it on the roof above you, the occasional drip from a gutter, the soft wash over pavement. Picture the trees outside, each leaf touched by water, gently swaying. Picture the roads glistening in the dark, the windows fogging slightly, the horizon vanishing into mist. And here you are, safe, warm, wrapped in blankets, your body still, your breath slow. The rain continues. It has no destination, no rush. It is simply falling, to fall. And as it falls, so do you, gently, naturally, into sleep. Let the rain carry you now. Let it cover the world. Let it quiet your mind and soften the night until morning comes. There's something uniquely intimate about listening to rain from inside a tent. The world outside is softened, distanced, and yet every drop becomes amplified. The thin canvas transforms into a resonant drumhead, catching each raindrop's touch and turning it into music. And from within, you listen. Let's nestle into that space now, into that soft shelter beneath falling rain. Inside the tent, the light is dim. Fabric walls surround you, glowing faintly with whatever daylight or moonlight filters through the mist. Everything is quieter. There are no sharp edges, no glowing screens, just breath, warmth, and the endless sound of water. The rain begins gently. One drop, then another, then many. Each one creates a soft pat or a quick tap, depending on its size, its angle, its urgency. Together, the drops become a chorus, a rhythm that changes as the wind moves the rain across the roof. Sometimes it's steady and even, like a lullaby. Other times, it dances in patterns, swaying from side to side. Your body, tucked inside the sleeping bag or resting on soft blankets, feels both grounded and hidden. The outside world is just inches away, but feels miles removed. Trees might sway above you, streams may rise. But inside, you are wrapped in sound and stillness. A tent doesn't block out the weather. It lets you experience it safely. Every drop that hits the roof is felt, heard, counted in its own way. And yet, you remain dry. This balance between exposure and protection is what makes rain in a tent feel so magical. It's as if nature is reaching out to you, gently, without crossing the line. Time feels different here. Moments stretch. The mind begins to wander, not out of anxiety, but out of wonder. You think of where the water has come from, the cloud it fell from, the mountain wind that carried it, the countless miles it may travel after it leaves the tent slope. You may even fall asleep to that sound, and if you wake in the night, the rain is still there, still falling, still tapping gently, reminding you that the sky has not stopped, that it keeps moving, keeps breathing, even as you rest. For those who've experienced it, the sound of rain on a tent is unforgettable. It becomes a memory, one stitched into the fabric of calm nights outdoors, into campfires just extinguished, into the hush of forests and distant thunder. And even if you've never been inside a tent during a rain, you can imagine it, a small space, a fabric roof, a world made entirely of sound and stillness. So tonight, close your eyes and picture yourself there. The rain is falling, the world is near, but you are held. Each rooftop has its own voice in the rain. Some whisper, some sing, some echo like soft drums. And above each home, each shelter, the sky becomes a percussionist, playing gently, consistently, sometimes for hours on end. Let's lie back now and listen to the rooftops. A metal roof gives a clear, crisp sound, like tiny coins falling onto a quiet stage. The rain strikes with precision. Each drop is distinct. If the rhythm is steady, it becomes almost meditative, like a metronome for the soul. It's a favorite for many who seek the clarity and brightness of rain's voice. On clay tile or slate, the sound is deeper, more muffled. Drops tap and roll off in small cascades. The water moves between the contours, following the grooves. There's a certain elegance to rain on these roofs, like a soft tapping on stone. A thatched roof, made of straw or reed, gives the rain a much different tone. Here, the drops are absorbed. The sound becomes more of a whisper, a muted rustle, like wind passing through dry grass. It feels old, timeless, ancient even. Wooden shingles add their own signature, a blend of thud and patter. The water darkens the wood slowly, and the sound reflects the material's warmth. Every drop deepens the tone. The roof listens. The roof responds. And then, there's the attic or ceiling beneath the roof, where you might be curled up, listening. The sound above isn't just noise. It's shelter. It's rhythm. It's proof that something is moving outside, while you remain still inside. Rain on the roof turns your home into an instrument. You hear the speed change. A sudden gust brings heavier rain, louder, quicker, more insistent. Then it slows again, back to the hush. The tempo rises and falls. There's no melody, no refrain, only the sky's steady improvisation. Some nights, the rain on the roof is soft enough to lull you into sleep. Other nights, it's just loud enough to keep you aware, but comforted. The roof becomes a boundary between sky and soul. It catches what falls and lets you rest beneath it. And sometimes, if you listen closely, you might hear the rain flowing into gutters, slipping down drain pipes, pattering into garden beds below. The water moves around the house, past windows, into soil, quietly continuing its journey. Tonight, imagine yourself lying beneath a familiar roof. The air is dim. The walls around you are calm. Above, the rain plays a soft song. You are safe. You are dry. You are listening. Let the rooftop soundscape guide you now, deeper into rest, until even the rain becomes part of your dreams. To stand in the rain is to be touched by the sky. It begins gently, a single drop on the cheek, then another on your arm, then several, scattered like quiet notes on the surface of your skin. The feeling is unmistakable, cool, soft, delicate, as if each drop were a fingertip from the clouds. Let's wander into that sensation together. When raindrops touch bare skin, they arrive not with force, but with presence. The temperature of the water, usually cooler than the body, creates a moment of contrast, a spark of awareness, but not one that startles. It's more of a whisper, a tap, a connection. Sometimes it catches you by surprise. That first drop may make you look up, blink, pause, but soon the rhythm builds. You stop reacting to each one and instead begin to feel them as a whole, a soft orchestra, a symphony of quiet touches. Skin is sensitive, attuned to subtle pressure and temperature. That's why rain feels so personal. Each droplet, though shaped by the wind, follows a unique path down. Some land on the back of your hand, others trace down your neck. A few may cling to your eyelashes or roll slowly down your arm. They don't fall in unison. They arrive like dancers in no rush to finish their routine. And the longer you stand, the more you become part of the experience, not just as an observer, but as something being gently painted by water. There's no barrier between you and the sky now. The clouds are reaching down, not in storm or sound, but in stillness. There's a kind of vulnerability to standing in the rain without cover, but also a kind of trust, a willingness to be present, to be touched by something larger than yourself. And it isn't always cold. On summer days, warm rains fall on sun-warmed skin. The feeling becomes almost electric, not in a way that startles, but in a way that awakens. Rain can make you feel more alive, more in your body, more aware of where you are. Children often understand this before adults do. Watch them run into the rain, arms wide, faces turned upward. They don't flinch from the touch. They welcome it. They don't ask why the sky is reaching out. They simply reach back. Tonight, imagine yourself beneath a soft rain. Your arms are at your sides. Your breath is slow. The sky is open above you. You feel a drop on your forehead, one behind your ear, one that slides down the inside of your wrist. Each one is real, specific, unrepeatable. You are not just watching the rain. You are in it, part of it. Let that sensation guide you into sleep. Let each drop be a soft reminder that the sky is near and that rest, like rain, can arrive quietly. One gentle touch at a time. Rain doesn't fall that. Same on every surface. Some places welcome it with absorption, quietly drinking each drop. Others reflect it, shining it back like mirrors. When rain falls on pavement and stone, something beautiful happens. The world darkens and glistens. Let's walk softly through that landscape now. Imagine a quiet city street just after the rain begins. The first few drops land without sound, then more. Soon the pavement darkens, concrete and asphalt soaking in the moisture, their dry grey tones deepening into charcoal and ink. Stone walls, sidewalks, bricks, all begin to change colour, as if painted by the sky itself. Rain brings out details we usually don't see. The grain of a walkway, the marbling of granite, the weathered texture of old bricks. Water flows into the grooves, pools in the cracks, highlights the imperfections. Surfaces come alive with contrast, light and shadow, wet and dry, sheen and matte. And as the water gathers, it begins to reflect. Streetlights stretch across, puddles, headlights shimmer. A lamppost becomes a golden streak across wet cobblestones. The world duplicates itself in softened outlines. The surface below becomes a second sky. And then there's the sound. Rain on pavement is distinct. Not a thud, but a patter. A flat, crisp tap. Faster than wood. Lighter than metal. On stone, it echoes slightly. A quiet percussion that changes as the surface changes. You hear the difference between the sidewalk and the curb, between the marble steps and the old sandstone wall. When the rain falls steadily, the city transforms. Sidewalks shine like polished silver. Alleyways glisten. Storefronts glow under their awnings. Reflections stretch and shimmer, as if the world were made of liquid light. The same street you walked earlier now feels enchanted. Rain adds memory, mood, magic. In gardens or parks, the stones do something else. Moss darkens, lichens swell. The scent of wet stone mixes with earth and leaf. It's not a loud smell, but it's deep. A reminder that even the hardest surfaces breathe. Rain doesn't just wash the city, it reveals it. And when it stops, and the droplets begin to evaporate, the world holds on to the glow a little longer, until only a few beads of water remain on the edges, like punctuation marks from the sky. Tonight, imagine walking along a rain-washed path. Your footsteps echo gently. The air is cool and rich with scent. Streetlights shimmer in puddles. The stone beneath your feet is smooth, damp, alive with reflections. You're walking, but not going anywhere, just listening, watching, feeling the softened world beneath the fall. And with every step, you move closer to sleep. Raindrops don't just fall, they shape. Over hours, days, and years beyond counting, rain quietly sculpts the surface of the earth. And though each droplet may seem small and soft, their persistent touch has the power to change mountains, reshape valleys, and smooth the edges of stone. Let's slow down, together, and explore the quiet artistry of weathering. When a raindrop lands on a rock, the moment is brief. A gentle touch, a cool dot of moisture. It may seem like nothing changes, but over time, those drops begin to wear away the surface, not with force, but with patience, repetition, return. This process, known as weathering, is how landscapes are softened by the elements. It's different from erosion, which moves material. Weathering simply breaks things down, prepares them for change. It happens in place, slowly, silently. Rain contributes in several ways. One is mechanical. Over time, rain seeps into small cracks in a rock. When temperatures drop, the water freezes and expands, widening those cracks. This is called freeze-thaw weathering. It's subtle, invisible at first, but repeated again and again, it eventually splits rock apart. Another is chemical. Rainwater isn't pure. It carries small amounts of dissolved gases, like carbon dioxide, which makes it slightly acidic. When it lands on certain minerals, it reacts with them, slowly dissolving or altering their structure. Limestone, for example, can be carved into caverns and sinkholes by nothing more than time and rain. There's also biological weathering, when plants take root in cracks moistened by rain. Tiny roots grow into the stone, expanding with the help of moisture, and eventually breaking the surface apart from within. All of this happens so slowly that we hardly notice. But if you walk through an old town or along a mountain path, you'll see the signs. Rounded edges where once there were sharp corners, smoothed carvings on old statues, crumbled cliffs softened by centuries of falling rain. The transformation is gentle, but never passive. Raindrops are nature's sculptors, small and steady. Not in a rush, not destructive, just persistent. They don't need to crash or roar to make a difference. They fall, again and again, and slowly, even the hardest surfaces begin to yield. And perhaps there's something for us in that lesson. That change doesn't have to be sudden to be meaningful. That the most enduring shifts come through patience, softness, and quiet return. So tonight, imagine the rain falling on stone. Picture the droplets pooling in tiny crevices. Picture the water soaking, freezing, expanding. Picture the surface slowly rounding, opening, giving way, not with a break, but with a breath. Let your thoughts do the same. Let your edges soften. Let the day's hardness weather away. Raindrop by raindrop, you are being reshaped. Rain doesn't just nourish the earth, it nourishes imagination. Across cultures and centuries, rain has inspired rituals, stories, music, and meaning. It has been welcomed with dance, feared in legend, and whispered about in poetry. Because rain is more than weather, it's presence, emotion, spirit. Tonight, let's wander slowly through some of the ways rain has lived in the hearts of people. In many indigenous cultures, rain is sacred. It's not just a forecast, it's a gift. Among the Hopi of the American Southwest, rain dances are performed to call for the sky's blessing. The dancers mimic the rhythm of raindrops with their steps. Each movement is a prayer, a conversation with the clouds. In Japan, the rainy season is called tsuyu, meaning plum rain. It arrives in early summer when the plums begin to ripen. The season is seen not as gloomy, but reflective. A time to pause, to write, to sit near a window with tea, listening to the slow fall. Many haiku, those delicate poems of brevity, were written with rain as their heartbeat. In Hindu tradition, the god Indra rules over rain and thunder. He is a bringer of storms, but also of renewal. The annual monsoon is both a challenge and a blessing, long awaited after the dry season, when the parched earth longs to drink again. In parts of Africa, songs accompany the arrival of rain. Children sing and dance in the streets when the first drops fall. Farmers lift their hands. The soil awakens. Rain is a rhythm that reconnects people to the pulse of the land. And in ancient Greek mythology, rain was seen as the tears of the gods. When mortals suffered, or when the heavens mourned, rain would fall, a symbol of emotion, descending gently from the sky. In literature, rain often signals a turning point. In film, it's used to soften or intensify a scene. It cleanses, it conceals, it comforts, it opens space for silence. A character walking through the rain often isn't just walking, they're feeling, processing, letting go. Even today, we instinctively link rain to feeling. We speak of rainy moods and storms inside us. And yet, we also find joy in the sound of rain. We sleep to recordings of it. We write by windows when it falls. We find beauty in the blur it casts across the world. So tonight, let us become part of that history. Let the rain outside, or in your imagination, be more than water. Let it be the soft echo of ancient stories. Let it carry the dances, the prayers, the poems, the songs. Let it remind you that this simple weather has always connected us, not just to nature, but to each other. You are not the first to listen. You are not the only one resting beneath a sky that weeps with meaning. Let the stories of rain carry you now, into dreams shaped by sound, by stillness, and by wonder. Rain is more than a moment. It is a pattern, a rhythm, a defining presence in the shaping of our planet's many climates. Some places receive rain almost daily, wrapped in mist and lush growth. Others wait weeks, even months, for a single soft shower. And in between, there are rhythms of wet and dry, of abundance and rest. Rainfall doesn't just water the land, it defines the land. Tonight, let's journey slowly across the globe, following the quiet footprints of rain. Begin with the rainforest. Here, rain is a constant companion. The sky is generous. Clouds drift in almost daily, releasing showers that nourish the green canopy below. These regions, like the Amazon or the Congo Basin, receive hundreds of centimeters of rain each year. The result? Dense forests, towering trees, and ecosystems layered with life. The high humidity and warm temperatures allow plants to grow in every direction, upward toward light, downward into soil, outward into air. Rain creates this lushness. It is not an accessory to the forest, it is its pulse. Now drift to the savanna. Here, rain follows a schedule, seasonal, rhythmic, and deeply anticipated. The dry season stretches long and quiet. Then, with the arrival of monsoon winds or shifting air patterns, the rains return. Grasses shoot up. Rivers reappear. Animals migrate to drink and feed. In savannas and grasslands, life moves in time with the rain, not daily, but annually, not constantly, but consistently, a dance with long pauses and joyful returns. In temperate climates, like much of Europe or the northeastern United States, rain is more evenly spread. It falls in misty mornings, in springtime showers, in autumn drizzles. It nurtures deciduous trees, wildflowers, and rolling hills. Here, rain creates balance, enough to feed the soil, but not enough to dominate the landscape. And in deserts, rain becomes a rare guest. Some deserts see less than a few inches of rain a year. But even this scarcity is part of a pattern. Plants in these regions grow slowly, but with deep roots. Animals burrow, conserve, and wait. Rain is precious, sacred, and its absence defines not just the land, but the way life adapts to it. In every climate zone, rainfall plays a role. It decides what grows, what flourishes, what survives. It shapes river systems, replenishes aquifers, carves valleys. It influences temperature, humidity, even the character of the wind. When meteorologists define a climate, they don't look only at temperature. They ask, how much rain falls here? When does it fall? What grows because of it? And so, tonight, imagine rain as the painter of the planet, a soft brush, tracing across continents, adding color to forests, motion to rivers, stillness to deserts. Let your breath match that rhythm. Wherever you are, the climate around you has been touched by rain. You are part of that landscape, part of that pattern, part of the quiet, global choreography of falling water. We often think of rain as pure, as the sky's soft gift, and most of the time it is. But sometimes the raindrop carries more than moisture. Sometimes it holds what the sky has gathered, traces of what we've left behind. Tonight, we explore this duality, the quiet truth of acid rain. Acid rain is not sharp, not burning. It doesn't arrive with a hiss or a sting. It looks, feels, and falls like regular rain. But its chemistry has changed. As raindrops form in clouds, they absorb gases from the atmosphere. Normally, this includes natural elements like carbon dioxide, which makes rain slightly acidic, a pH just below neutral. But when the air carries pollutants like sulfur dioxide or nitrogen oxides, often from burning fossil fuels, those gases dissolve into the droplets, making the rain more acidic. Over time, this more acidic rain can affect the land it touches. It may lower the pH of lakes and streams, making the water less hospitable to fish and aquatic plants. It can leach nutrients from soil, weakening trees. It may wear down buildings, especially those made of limestone or marble. But even here, there is balance and hope. The atmosphere has ways of healing. When pollution is reduced, when smokestacks are cleaned, when cleaner energy is used, the rain begins to purify again. Raindrops still form, still fall, but they carry less of what harms and more of what heals. In a sense, rain is one of the sky's ways of cleaning itself. Each drop is a tiny cleanser, washing particles from the air. After a long dry spell, the first rain often carries the weight of what was suspended above: dust, pollen, smoke. That's why the very first minutes of rainfall sometimes carry a stronger scent, a visible residue. But as the rain continues, it clears the air, it settles what was floating, it resets the breath of the world. And so, even acid rain has a role to play. It reveals what's in the air. It reminds us that the sky holds memory, that what rises must eventually fall. The story of rain is not always gentle, but it is always honest. And just as rain can carry pollution, it can also carry change. Clean air policies around the world have helped reduce acid rain. Scientists track the pH of rainwater, watching for trends. And in many places, those trends are improving. The sky is learning to let go. So, tonight, imagine the rain as a messenger, not of guilt or blame, but of awareness. A drop falls, and in it, a reflection of what the air has held. Another falls, clearer than the last. Another, softer still. Let it remind you that we are part of the atmosphere, that what we release returns, but also that what we change can be changed. The sky doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful, and neither do we. Let that truth settle with the rain. Let it wash over you, gently. Sometimes, when the rain has passed and the sun returns, the sky offers one final gift, quietly, briefly, without fanfare, a rainbow. It arches across the horizon, not in boldness, but in breadth, a gentle curve of colour painted on the parting mist, fleeting, serene, a whisper from the weather. Tonight, we wander into the soft wonder of this rare parting gesture. Rainbows form when sunlight meets the lingering raindrops still suspended in the air. The timing must be just right. The rain must still be falling lightly in the distance. The sun must be low behind you. The light must enter the droplet at the perfect angle. When that happens, something quiet and extraordinary unfolds. The light enters the raindrop and bends. This is refraction. It reflects inside the droplet. Then it bends again as it exits. Each droplet acts as a tiny prism, splitting the white light into its many colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But here's the dreamy part. Each color leaves the droplet at a different angle, which means each color only reaches your eyes from a specific set of drops. The rainbow you see is your own. No two observers see the exact same arc. It exists just for you. A moment shaped by your place in the world. Rainbows are quiet, slow things. They don't flash or crash. They don't call attention to themselves. They simply appear, often without notice, and then fade, vanishing not because they've moved, but because the light has changed. The angle is gone. The gift is complete. And in that brief arc of colour, we feel something ancient stir, a memory, a wonder. Rainbows have carried meaning for centuries. In myths, they've been bridges between worlds. In stories, they've been promises. In silence, they've been reminders that beauty often comes not after storms, but because of them. You cannot have a rainbow without rain. You cannot see one without light. It's a phenomenon of contrast. Wetness and sun, shadow and clarity. The part of the sky that once wept, now shimmers. So tonight, imagine standing at the edge of a soft rain. The drops are slowing. The clouds are parting. The air is still. And there, stretching across the sky in gentle quiet, is the arc, pale at the edges, vivid in places, a curve that touches nothing, but holds everything. Let that arc hold you now. Let it be a bridge from wakefulness to rest. Let it carry the colors of calm into your dreams. We all have one. A memory tucked away, held in a moment when the sky was soft and the rain was falling, a rainy day, a quiet hour, a feeling that stayed with us. Tonight, we drift back, not to one specific place, but to the feeling of a day touched by rain. Maybe it was a childhood afternoon, spent indoors while the windows blurred with water. You sat beneath a blanket, watching the world change outside. The garden darkened, the sidewalks glistened, the trees bowed and dripped. Maybe it was a walk through a park or down a quiet road when the sky opened and you didn't run. You let the drops fall on your hair, your face, your hands. You laughed or stayed still, or simply breathed in the scent of the wet earth rising to greet the rain. Or maybe it was a moment shared with someone, a hand held beneath an umbrella, a conversation paused by a sudden downpour, a kiss against a backdrop of thunder, soft and far away. Rain has a way of making moments more vivid. It slows time, heightens sensation. Even the small details become permanent. The tapping of drops on metal, the fog on a window pane, the sound of your own footsteps in a puddle, the creak of a wet jacket, the hush that rain brings, like a blanket over the world. Rainy days invite reflection. They turn us inward. They ask us to be still, to look, to listen, to feel. And the memory stays not because it was dramatic, but because it was real, felt deeply, remembered quietly. The scent of petrichor, the glow of streetlights on wet pavement, the sound of wheels moving slowly through puddles, a moment alone with your thoughts, or held close by another. Tonight, let one of those rainy day memories return. Don't force it. Let it drift in like a cloud. See where you were, what you wore, what you heard, what you felt. Let the details soften. Let the sharpness blur. You're not remembering to analyze. You're remembering to feel. And as the memory settles, so can you. Rain is always moving, always falling, but memories of rain stay. They live in us. They comfort us. They visit us again when the sky is grey and the air is cool. Let your thoughts now fall like that rain, steady, soft, familiar, and let that rainy day become your lullaby. Let us imagine, just for a moment, a single raindrop suspended in the air, perfectly round, perfectly still, hovering between cloud and earth. Now, imagine what it sees, because every raindrop, no matter how small, is also a mirror. 1,000 tiny mirrors fall from the sky, each one curved, each one capturing the world in miniature, each one reflecting light, colour and shadow with exquisite subtlety. Tonight, we float closer and peer into this quiet reflection. Raindrops begin nearly spherical in shape, like soft, shimmering marbles. At that stage, their surface tension is strong, holding the water tightly together. And on that rounded surface, the world appears, inverted, distorted slightly by the curve, but still there, trees turned upside down, skies curved into bowls, faces reflected back with softness. It's easy to forget that water is a natural lens, but in the atmosphere, suspended mid-fall, each drop becomes a tiny optical marvel. It gathers sunlight, it warps reality, it paints fleeting portraits of the world it falls through. In the early stages of their descent, these droplets might reflect their birthplace, the cloud itself, a swirl of grey, a halo of diffused light. Then, as they fall, they carry the scenery with them. Blue sky, golden sun, fluttering leaves. Whatever surrounds them becomes part of them, if only for a moment. As the drop grows larger, wind and friction begin to flatten it. No longer perfectly round, it becomes wider, like a bun or a lens. Its reflection changes too. Light stretches differently. The world it shows becomes more distorted, but also more vibrant. The shape, though altered, still holds the memory of what it's seen. And when millions of droplets fall together, each reflecting light, the result is something softly dazzling. The shimmer of rain in the distance, the misty glow beneath a street lamp, the way sunlight catches on a passing shower, turning each drop into a gem for a breath of time. Even after the drop has landed, its reflective gift continues. On a window pane, a droplet curves the view of the world beyond. A car's windshield becomes a canvas of tiny upside-down trees. A leaf cradles a bead of water that holds the entire sky inside. These mirrored moments ask nothing of us. They aren't loud. They don't demand attention. They're easy to miss, but when noticed, they offer something rare. A pause, a perspective, a soft, rounded truth about the way water sees. So tonight, imagine walking through a gentle rain, not rushing, not hiding, just observing. Around you, countless reflections are falling. Not just water, but vision. Not just precipitation, but perspective. The raindrop mirrors the world, and in doing so, it invites us to see it differently. Softer, curved, inverted perhaps, but no less true. And maybe, as we reflect on these tiny mirrors in the sky, we find something mirrored in ourselves. A quiet moment of stillness, a memory held gently, a softness in the way we see the world and the way it sees us. Let that reflection guide you now. Let your thoughts ripple gently inward, like water, like mirrors, like sleep. And now, dear listener, we return to the beginning, to the sound of rain. Whether it's falling outside your window or only in your imagination, the presence of rain tonight is enough. Soft, slow, gentle, above you, beyond you, around you, a lullaby woven from water. We end where all raindrops arrive, here, in rest. There's something timeless about drifting to sleep beneath a sky that rains. It's as if the world itself is slowing down, exhaling, and offering you permission to let go. No alarms, no demands, just rhythm, just hush. The roof above you, real or dreamed, becomes a drum. Each droplet taps a different note, unpredictable yet soothingly consistent. Together, they compose a song only you can hear. The walls become a cocoon, the bed, a raft floating beneath the clouds. You are safe, carried, cradled by the atmosphere itself. In this chapter, there are no more facts to learn, no more science to gently unwrap, just sensation, just feeling, the comfort of water above, the cool scent of rain nearby, the deep breath that rain invites. As you lie here, imagine the cloud above you, a soft, misty cradle. Within it, the journey began. Vapor rose, gathered, cooled. Droplets formed around tiny seeds. They grew, they danced, they fell. Each drop followed its path. And now they've arrived. Not just to the ground, but to this moment, to you. And as they fall, they ask nothing. They simply land, one by one, until the world is quiet. Let your breath fall the same way now. One inhale, like a droplet rising. One exhale, like a raindrop falling. Slow, soothing, natural. You are part of the sky's rhythm. You are part of the rain's story. Let the sound carry you deeper into rest. Let the thoughts slow and scatter like mist. Let sleep settle, like condensation on glass. Tonight, there is only this: the rain above, the stillness within, and the endless comfort of knowing you are exactly where you need to be. Good night, gentle listener. peaceful dreams and calm skies to you. And as our soft exploration of the secret lives of raindrops comes to a close, I hope you found comfort in this quiet journey, from mist to droplet, from sky to earth. Each raindrop we followed tonight was more than water. It was rhythm, reflection, a whisper from the clouds. May the gentle fall of rain bring stillness to your thoughts and hush to the corners of your day. If you'd like to return for more calming meteorology, you are always welcome in this quiet space. Feel free to subscribe, if and only if it feels light, easy, and restful to do so. There's never any rush here, but for now, there's nothing more you need, no answers to seek, no skies to read, just presence, just breath, slow and steady, like soft rain on a quiet roof. Let your body settle, let your thoughts float like mist. Whether there's rain outside your window or only in your imagination, let its rhythm cradle you now. Good night, gentle listener, peaceful dreams, and calm skies, always to you.